In the room library, a DAO or data access object is an interface. It defines all of the operations that you want to execute with a particular data set. It is common to have one DAO class for each entity class, and that is what I will do here. I define my node entity class in a model package. But because I am now going to be grouping other classes that are for database management, I am going to rename that package. I will select that package, then I will press Shift F6 and I will rename it as database. And then I will add a new Java class and I will name this node DAO. It won't actually be a class, it will be an interface. And I will click OK to create it. Above the interface declaration, and that is an instruction to room that says take this interface and generate all the needed code in the background. Now I can create a series of methods. I am going to need a method for inserting a new node, and I can do that using an annotation called insert. And this annotation takes an onConflict property that I'll set it to onConflict strategy.replace. I will now be able to use this method to either insert or update a node. After the annotation, I need to define the method name. I will call it insert node, and it is going to take an instance of the node entity that I will simply name node. And that's all you need to do. All of the actual SQL code will be generated by room library, and this is enough information to give you code that you can call throughout your application. Now I'm going to make a copy of this method, and this one is going to be called insert all, and it is going to receive a list of nodes. When you are inserting multiple objects, you can either use a list or you can use a simple array. I am using a list. Next, I will add a method for deleting a node, and this starts with an annotation called delete. And the name of the method will be delete node, and it will receive an instance of the node entity class. And once again, that's all the code you need. All of the actual SQL code will be generated in the background. Now I need a few queries. The first will retrieve a single node by its ID. I will start with an annotation called query, and then I will add an SQL statement that looks like this. Select static from. Now notice that when I start typing the table name, I can autocomplete it, and that's a feature of Android Studio. It looks at the names of the tables that I have generated and then lets me code more intelligently than if I were doing this from scratch. And now I can use parameters in my SQL code. Next, I will define the method. It will return an instance of node entity. The name of the method will be getNode by ID. And I will pass in an ID value. The name of this parameter and the name of this parameter must match. And again, Room does all of the matching up of those values in the background. Next, I need a query that returns all of my data. This time I will use an order by clause, and I am going to return the data in descending order by date. And that will let me see the newest node first. Now, when I return this data, I am not going to return a simple list. Instead, I will return something called a live data object. And this is the second of the architecture components that I will be using. The live data will be wrapped around a list, and the list will contain instances of node entity. And I will name this method getAll. I need two more queries. The next one is going to be used to delete all of the data in nodes table. And this is going to be called deleteAll, and it will return an integer. And finally, I will add a method to return the number of items in the nodes table, and that will be called getCount. So my data access object has 7 operations: 2 inserts, 2 deletes, 1 for a single node and 1 for all nodes, a query to get a single node by its ID, another query to get all nodes, and a query to get all of the data wrapped in a live data object, and a query to return the total number of items in the table. I will make the module and will update all this code with Room library in the background. And my DAO interface is complete. You can add as many different queries and other operations as you need, and some can deal with entity objects directly, while others will use the live data object to expose the data to presentation layers of the application.